just to keep from calling you Lord. I'm too young to just hang around, too proud to be your fool. You said no thank you when I tried to get you.
All right. Good evening, everyone. Thanks for tuning in to another segment of our regional fishing report, where tonight we're going to highlight Georgia. And tonight we have Captain Massa with us, and he is going to share with us what's going on in his area. Hi, Captain.
Great evening. How's it going?
Crazy storms tonight where we are. How's it going by you?
Beautiful afternoon in coastal Georgia for sure.
I'm sure. Can you tell our audience a little bit about your charter service?
Absolutely. I'm Captain Massa, and I'm out of Darien, Georgia. We're just a little bit north, St. Simon's Island, and and then if you go north from St. Simon's, you'll come up to Darien. It's right close, and then also Brunswick, Georgia, is very close to Darien, and on the other side is Savannah. We have a real great historic city here. I stumbled into Darien and didn't know how historic it was. It's becoming a destination hotspot for tourists, not only for our fishery, but for the history that our city provides.
Yeah, St. Simon's, I'm familiar with that. Grant and I took our 40-day, 40-night trip up and down the East Coast and stopped there. And we got to fish with a mutual friend, Captain Harris. Had an amazing time, got on some amazing fish. So definitely recommend to our viewers, if you get a chance to go down to Georgia, definitely check out the fishery there and contact Captain for a great charter service. So let's go into, actually, let me back up a little bit, because I noticed that your family on your Facebook page seems to be involved in fishing. I think your son and your wife also, and maybe some of your other children.
Absolutely. You know, we moved to Georgia about 20 years ago and started off with a 14-foot john boat. My wife and I, before we had the kids, spent a lot of time cruising the creeks, just having a blast, and finally ended up with a center console boat that I got from my neighbor. And that's when it all started. Fell in love with the fishing lifestyle, the whole 9 yards. Did a lot of time just cruising, figuring it out. Paid real close attention to the tides, the structure, and all the details that it takes. Really wanted to be able to put myself in a position that I could take friends, take family, and take anybody out and catch fish. It's our fishery is great, but it's fickle at times, like all the fisheries out there.
Yeah.
Don't know it. You could go out there and get skunked, and got skunked a bunch until we figured it out. And as the kids have been growing up, taking them out so many times. We've enjoyed Sapelo Island. That's the local beach that all the boaters go up to and spend a lot of time on the beach, just having a good time. And before and after those trips, we always wet a line. So important, and especially taking these kids out and starting them off young. They all, so thanks for that.
Yeah, for sure. I got to know Captain Massa here a little bit before the show, and we talked about the importance of getting our youth out, outreaching to youth in other cities, and also the importance of conservation. So those are really great, important things and passions we share. I'm sure our viewers feel the same way about these areas as well. But I'd like to get into what's going on in your area. What's biting? What trends do you see? What's going on over there?
Man, we had a fantastic winter. It was so unproductive. We just slayed fish over and over and over. They were deep up in the creeks. We found some great holes that we could go to and consistently put fish in the boat. It's heating up, though. Things are definitely changing. The patterns are changing. They're starting to move out of those creeks and into the more of the open water. So we're chasing fish and trying to find some new spots, and it's working. So along the edge of the sound, where the big water is, we're finding them. But I just want to say that sometimes people then all of a sudden go away from those creeks. Still stuck up in there are some of those big trout. About 2 weeks ago, went to some of my wintertime drops, and a lot of them were stalled out, but in a couple, we weren't catching any of those small ones. It was big trout. So if you're patient and you know some of those areas where those resident trout are, they're still up in there, but I would say the majority of them are moving towards the sound. Fish the same way. We've got a great redfish population, but they're finicky and they like their areas, so you have to search it and find them. So redfish and trout in the sound, on the open water, not in the open water, but in the mouths of the bigger creeks. And then, or man, the mackerel and the kingfish bite is going crazy right now. Have a few charter friends that are just putting them in the boat left and right. If you can weed through the sharks and some of the other things, you can have a very, very productive day offshore. Also, we got the triple tail showing up on the buoys all over. It's just that time to pitch that shrimp to a triple tail and hold on for a ride of a lifetime, that's for sure. And last but not least, we've always got a productive shark fishery here. They follow the shrimp boats, all the techniques that the captains use. You can always end up, if you wanted to, having an adventure on a shark here at any point in a trip. So hammerhead, bonnet heads, black tips, we've got them all, and easily caught for the shark fishing. That's what I concentrate on, is the inshore redfish, trout, triple tail, and then the flounder. Flounder are coming in. They're gigging them like crazy here. And so if you know where they're gigging them, you go back that next morning and you would think that, man, we'd just slay them left and right. They're laying all over the bottom at night. But flounder is a difficult fish if you're not really keen to it. So, but knowing where they are really helps. So going out gigging at night puts another added card in your pocket, that's for sure. And flounder, redfish, trout, that's what I'm focused on, more inshore. But I don't mind and would love the opportunity when it's time to go off on mackerel, some kingfish, and obviously some cobia in the boat also.
Cobia. Yeah, that all sounds good. One thing about flounder, when we were in Georgia, it was in the shallows and the skinnies that we were catching our big reds. And there is a subtlety about how a flounder bites. I had my line in the water and just slowly bringing it in, and I was chatting with Grant. And I'm like, oh, I think I'm snagged on something. I was kind of bouncing at the bottom, and there wasn't much of a fight, and it was a pull, and it was a good sized flounder. But they were back there in the shallow and the skinny as the tide was coming in, though, where the reds were.
That incoming tide is a great tide to fish. I like the incoming, but what I like even more is that outgoing. And the reason I like it is it's at the top of the water. We know the fish, or a lot of fish are up in that grass, but you know that grass. And it gives me a lot of confidence, that outgoing tide. I like it, but both moving water being the key that you need, slower moving water and clarity, obviously. Are the two things that I'm looking for, moving water and clarity. And you're right, they're up in the shallows, and that bite is difficult because so many times we have such great structure on our bottoms. You think you're snagged up, and either you pull too quick or you don't do anything. But that flounder takes, you let it run with it a little bit before you set the hook, and you'll have a lot more success.
That is true. I love the diversity of the fishery in your area, and how inshore there's just that great variety, including, you mentioned sharks as well, which I did see one of the catches on your Facebook page. It was a pretty decent sized shark you had there.
Oh yeah, the shark fish is great. Not too great at times, especially if you're out there king fishing or mackerel fishing or even red fishing. You'll get a shark bite on a shrimp easily. So we weed through those and still do really well. Wherever there's a flounder or a trout or a redfish around here, it's very likely that you'll hook into a nice trout. I failed to mention too that we've got a great bull red fishery here too. We got
Oh
some
yeah.
reds that are here all year long,
Mhm.
and it's really good. I love to put a half a crab on, lay it on the bottom, relax a little bit, and pull in one of those bull reds. It's an adventure of a lifetime for sure.
Yeah, I've had my many pleasures of that experience too. So how are the winds and tide affecting? Let's target one fish, maybe speckled trout. How's that work for you? And can you give the viewers an idea about how going about fishing for speckled trout in your area?
You know, January and February, the winds were howling. It seemed like every day there was 15, 20-mile-an-hour winds. It's really difficult. But if you've got enough spots and you know the area well, there's always a backside of an island. There's always the area that you can get out of the wind. But what I'm finding is sometimes if you are brave enough and you're able to cast into that wind, those wind-blown sides of the area up against some great structure can be really productive. It's hard to fish, and it's really hard at sometimes to bring charter people out there when you're guiding if they don't have a skill set for casting in the wind. But boy, that can be productive. So for the more experienced fishermen, for sure, that don't hesitate to take them to the windward side of an island. But for the novice or somebody that is not as experienced with casting and into the wind, always a angle if you know the area and you have enough spots to, depending on if it's whatever direction the wind is, you have to choose real wisely. Now, the wind dies down here in the summer a lot. You know, early mornings, late afternoons here in this area, we get a pretty good situation. Midday, it picks up, and you have to be out there near the big water. So wind is a factor, but it just puts us in a position to where we put our boat and how we position it. Downwind, upwind, we just deal with it and make positions. There's always a way to get around it if you're savvy enough.
That's true. I read actually, let me see if I can find it because I don't want to misquote the review that was given to you on Facebook here. A gentleman, oh, of course I lost it. He described his adventure with you as epic. I don't know if you remember that post, and says that you always get your clients on some really great fish. So just so the audience understands that if you're in Georgia, contact Captain Massa.
Love to fish. Even if I wasn't on a charter, you could very much find me on the water. I love it, and wanted to just be able to share that adventure with other people. It's I'm not a full-time guide. My full-time profession is I'm an assistant superintendent of schools and working with kids all day. But as soon as I can get off and get on the water, I'm there and sharing that with some new people. And man, I've met some of the greatest people ever. It seems like people that love the water are good people. I just haven't run into anybody that's not top-notch or quality. They love the outdoors, and it just seems to fit. I've got a pretty upbeat personality, and if you come on a charter with me, we'll have a good time. I'll share everything I know. That's one of the things that I really like to do is teach as much as I can. I'm a teacher at heart. I've been in education for 22 years and counting. So I'm ready to share how to tie, how to do all the little details that it takes to be productive.
That's awesome. So if somebody wants to schedule with you, how do they go about that? How do they reach you?
Well, I'm in all the major media platforms. If you find me on Facebook at Coastal Creek Charters, I've got a great website, coastalcreekcharters.com. Instagram, and I've done a little bit of dabbling on TikTok.
TikTok.
Just for fun.
In your videos. Pretty funny.
Really got me into that. So do a little bit of TikTok, but mostly it's Facebook and Messenger. I reply, and not only do I reply to requests for charters, but there's a lot of times that I'll just get questions like this, what's going on over there? And I love to share what's going on in our area. People are coming with their own boats and they want to know how the bite is. I get a lot of messages like that, and never mind at all sharing exactly what's going on. Maybe not that exact secret hole, but I'll definitely
Yeah.
share the bite.
Mum's the word on that. But what we can share, so we talked about using crab and shrimp, but how about for somebody who's really hardcore about using plastics? What do you recommend?
Well,
Or maybe speckled trout and redfish?
man, I've been really forcing myself. On a charter, typically, I really want to put people on fish, and we'll use that live bait, and we know live bait works. But whenever I can, and I don't have a charter in the boat, or I'm just out on myself, there's two things that I like to do. Is I like to commit myself to go into an area that I haven't fished before,
Mm-hmm.
and if I'm going to do that, I'm going to cover a lot of ground. I've got the trolling motor on north and or in the direction, and I'm just going down that bank and I'm pitching. You can't go wrong with a paddle tail. I like that electric chicken. I like all the slam shadies, all the ones that are top tier. But what I really came across is a local gentleman there at the marina. It's called McIntosh County Rod and Gun Club, otherwise known as Blue and All. Our marina captain that's at the marina makes his own soft plastic. He's has a great little soft plastic that has been working, paddle tail, and it's got a green glitter to it, and I've slayed the fish on it. So I go with the paddle tail, and then when paddle tail's not working, DOA shrimp. I go with here. We've got a great shrimp area, so a lot of shrimp boats. So I go with that DOA shrimp, and last but not least, I'll throw on a Miradine. I love a soft, hard plastic Miradine. So trying something with a little rattle to it and covering a lot of water. I'm on the go. That's kind of my fishing style. Is the iPilots changed things for me. I used to be anchored up and you were at a spot for a while.
Mm-hmm.
iPilot gives you a whole nother world that after 5 minutes, you're not getting a bite, not necessarily moving from that spot where we're moving down the bank.
Right.
In the fish. And after spot locking and jogging 100 feet, then we'll take a move. But we've covered a lot of area in that little zone. You never know. It's been so many times that you could be 20 feet off. You're not catching anything here. 2 moves, bam, you're in the fish. So that has been a game changer. And I'm not always sure that it's the best thing because I'd probably leave too early at times. But a lot of times I believe it's been the difference maker.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. Grant and I go out mostly on the whaler, but I really enjoy being on a kayak. And I think our last guest talked about how kayakers dissect, right? So I am a dissect junkie. I will sit in a spot for a good 20 minutes and move a foot. 20 minutes, move a foot. And I know in my heart of heart, there's a fish there and it's hard to let go of that thought and then move on. But that's me, but I'm in recovery. But yeah, it is important to go down the line and fish because you never know. I guess another thing too, as far as a drop off areas, you talked about grass and certain other areas. What are techniques that you use to find these areas? I know that you've been on the water and you know these areas really well, but are there any electronics that people can use in this area to look for specific maybe drop-offs, dark, shallow areas? What do you recommend for somebody who's using their electronics to search for fish?
Well, I think that another one of the game changers has been my Garmin. EcoMap is a great platform. Garmin EcoMaps, their charts are just phenomenal, I think. If they say there's a sandbar, there's a sandbar there. If it says that it's 2 foot, at low tide, you can believe it. I've experienced it a few times, even with the Garmin. So what I'm looking for is edges, flats with at least a 4 or 5 foot edge. I'm finding that those flats in the heat, those fish will just drop off the flat as the day goes on and just drop right into those deep edges. So when you're looking at your Garmin and you're looking, you see, oh, I see a big flat here, and it doesn't always drop off. A lot of flats just slowly, gradually get deeper and deeper and deeper. But it's very clear on Garmin where those flats are that have a channel that is a big drop off. So I'm definitely looking for that. I'm also looking for areas that I combine with Google Earth. I'm looking at Google Earth all the time and zooming in to see what I can see for structure on the sides that have a drop off. I think that deep water, especially in the summertime, plays a critical role because they love to be on the flats. When as those fish as the bait's coming off of it, it's great. But when the water temperature heats up, they want to get a little bit cooler and still wait for that bait to just drop off that side. So the Garmin and I think the maps on that are a game changer for sure. And then I'm constantly down scanning and side scanning. I really, really want to see what's out underneath me. There's so many little places for those bull reds that they show up pretty clearly on a down scan. So every time I come into the mouth of a creek, I'm off of the maps and I'm scanning the bottom and seeing where they are and then making a mental note. But not only am I looking for fish, I'm looking for bait. Those bait are a big predictor. If there's a lot of bait in the area and they show up a lot different than a fish does, you can bet that you're in a good spot. So looking for bait, looking for obviously those big fish on there, and then side scanning to see what kind of structures on the bottom there.
Yeah, definitely. Or you can contact Captain Massa and schedule a charter service, and he can teach you all this.
Well, like I said, I really share what I know. I want people to be on the water and have a good time.
Yes.
I think a few times that when my kids were growing up, I might have distracted them or deterred them from fishing because you go out and you don't catch fish with young kids. It puts a bad taste in their mouth. Like, I'm not going out there. So it took a lot of positive trips to change around once I learned it. So going out with a guide with your kids and putting them on fish could be the difference maker to get them that passion or start fires burning inside of them. There's nothing like that drag pulling out and reeling in that fish.
Yeah, I agree. I grew up in New York City, where people didn't fish, or if they did, we didn't talk about it. But I think back to my childhood, and if I had fishing as an avenue to do a lot of things that I've done wrong growing up, it would have changed my world for sure. Because there's nothing like being on the water. Not just bending a rod, but just being connected to something that's bigger than myself and catching that sunrise, or being with really great people. Like you said earlier about some of the people that you meet, I can think of the countless people I met that really just changed my life with their story and just having a good time and sometimes sharing bait on a pier, and you make new friends. So definitely an amazing experience all the way around the sport of fishing.
I just wanted to make one more point that I really appreciated the invite onto the channel and did diligence and looked at all your content and picked up a few techniques that I'll definitely be adding to my playbook. So I appreciate it, and you've got great content, and I think that it's a resource that will help fishermen be better fishermen.
Oh, well, I am very honored by that and very grateful that you came on the show tonight. So thank you so much, Captain. And one more time, just before we depart, how can people get in contact with you to schedule, and how far out are you now with your scheduling?
Well, I'm probably like to get at least a 2 week notice. I'm more the weekends, but I do take some days during the week, but mostly Saturdays and Sundays and holidays. I'm on the water, and you can contact me again at Coastal Creek Charters on Facebook, Messenger, again at my website, coastalcreekcharters.com. Take a look and see that we're having a good time here in Georgia. Not only is it a great fishery, that if you come and stay, you'll be in a historic town. Georgia or McIntosh has such a rich history that there's more to do than just fish. A lot of people want to go fishing, but when you're staying over, there's so many historic places to see and be, and some great places to eat too.
That is true. And if you have any questions about that, also Captain Massa can help you with that. You can contact us as well. We had some really great experiences on piers and had some great restaurant experience as well while we were in Georgia. Beautiful area, St. Simon's Island. So thank you so much again for your time. Thank you everyone for joining us, and namaste and fish on.
Have a great
Just hang around, too proud to be your